because this is what we might end up talking about then, basically how you just get it going.
Am I in?
Let's see. Take it back some more. Yeah, there we go. We close and encountered with each other. Welcome to MostMoto. Motivational Wednesday. This is MostMoto Wednesdays. I like to actually concentrate on individuals where it's a part of the community that we can actually see what they're doing and actually what inspires them and keeps them going. I'm right here now with James Springer, a good friend of mine at this point. We just met recently, but definitely motivational, definitely encouraging, definitely inspiring. That's something you eye too much? You good?
No.
You good? Okay, good.
Can't say too much about me, man.
Yeah, I can't say too much about it. I wish I had his bio so I could go ahead and just read it all out. But one thing this guy knows about is the mind. Can you see him? Can you see him? We can see. Let's straighten up a little bit right there. Yeah, let's tad. Look at his cute face. Yeah. So look, here we go, people. So we're gonna get right to a mindset of successful thinking. Moto show for motivation. The true outcome of having a mindset of successful thinking is an unwavering expectation of successfully achieving a predetermined goal, knowing that the outcome is supposed to happen. Excuse me. So I wanted to make sure we spent time with James today. Just really, I like this. I like the way he thinks. He has a lot of interesting things about him. One thing is he is a hypnotist.
No, that's one thing.
That's one thing, which is kind of interesting. So if you ever seen the movie Get Out, you don't want to look him in his eye too much. But besides that, let's go ahead and get to it. I was talking to James about something, and one thing I learned about him is that he never stops learning. We're going to talk about a different subject, just about the mind in general, because he's one guy that actually done studied the mind a lot. But a little before we get to that, James, tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Well, I help people.
I know you don't like telling. You'd rather have people read it out for you, but tell us a bit.
It's all right. It's not a speech. So
Yeah.
Basically, I help people make money, increase productivity by becoming a better communicator. I work primarily with salespeople, professionals, managers, that kind of industry. And what I do is I work with not all the traditional sales and management training, but I work with unconscious conversation more than conscious conversation. Mm-hmm. Even the conscious conversation or the verbal concentration that I use is designed to go beyond consciousness into the subconscious mind. Mm-hmm. Most people don't realize it, but about 97% of the decisions that we make are emotional and not logical. Mm. So if you are communicating with someone on a logical basis, you are going to have less of a chance of persuading that person than you are if you talk to them on an emotional basis.
So it's in the sense of selling, you probably always want to, in the sense you say people are always selling, right?
Absolutely.
So this type of idea you're talking about in regards to sales, it might be important for them to get with you. That'll be better salespeople in general.
Absolutely.
But subconscious mind, period, before we even do anything, we're already thinking about it, basically.
Absolutely.
And in the back of your mind, you're already, when you start to do certain things, you start saying, where did that come from? Well, that's something you actually planned on doing before, a long time ago. I think your camera went out. I feel so YouTubers right now. Like we got a couple of different monitors going on the phone, different monitors, phones going up, where he's actually got his phone going, I got this phone going. So we actually feel almost, important. But I want to talk to James today in regards to the mind, but then also we were just briefly talking about Grant Cardone, Now James has been around the block for a little while. He actually knows a lot of things, experienced a lot of things, and worked with a lot of big time people. But one thing I learned about him, he never stops learning.
That's right.
And so why don't you speak a little bit about that, because that's really has gotten to, and I think for our community here, we learn really quick that, education is not always in the traditional form in a classroom. You actually learn a lot more as well as you continually go throughout life. But we were talking about how you go into this class and you got a discount on the class, and you would think someone that's actually trained companies in regards to sales, you're going to a sales training yourself.
Absolutely.
Speak a little bit about that, why in the sense of education never stops.
Well, for one thing, I've only trained a few hundred people, maybe at the most, and Grant Cardone's got 30 million people on his platform.
So something you can learn from.
There's always something you can learn. You can learn something from everybody. Mm-hmm. That's one reason why networking is so important, why getting out and meeting people, new people, because you can always learn something from someone. And, if you go through college or if you go through a training course, I've got several certifications in different areas. If you do that and you think you've arrived and you think you know everything that there is to know about a subject, you're dead. You're going to start going backwards immediately. because there's always new technologies, always new information coming out. So it's vital that you continue to learn.
So I learned through the most successful people, they're always learning all the time.
True.
They're continuously reading all the time. You know, so in regards to that, they actually change their mindset and how they do things all the time. Since you've done studied the mind a lot, you know about the subconscious part of things. Why is it important for people to understand that they got to work with their subconscious mind before they even start living
Well,
out?
for one thing, if you make a presentation, whether it's to your spouse about going out to eat, or whether it's to a customer for a multi-million-dollar deal, you need to be able to engage that person below the level of consciousness, where they're going to try to logic things out, analyze stuff. And I'm going to give up on that camera.
Yeah, you're going to give up on it? Even though it's a nice phone. That phone is
a great
nice.
phone, but it's
that
brand new. I haven't figured it all out yet.
It has a 6x9 on it. It has a loudspeaker on there, and it just cuts off on you, though.
Well, I just haven't figured it out yet.
It's brand new. But let's hope this phone don't cut out.
We'll keep on there. Where was I?
No, you were talking about the subconscious mind. You were talking to somebody.
Well, when you engage a person, one thing that you got to understand is that the brain is basically three parts. It's the reptilian brain, which controls all of your primal drives, and then you've got the emotional brain, which controls all of your feelings and has a great deal to do with your long-term memory and retrieval of long-term memory. And then you've got the human brain on top of that is our the neocortex, which does all the logic, language, math, that kind of stuff. So the problem with the neocortex is that it's extremely smart. It does a lot of things, like I say, math, logic, all that. But it's very, very limited and very, very slow. Conscious mind can only track about seven plus or minus 2 chunks of information at a time, where the subconscious mind can track millions, and some people will say even billions of information at a time.
That's before you even start talking.
That's before you talk, before you do anything.
That's already there baking.
And also, the subconscious mind works at about 1.5 times the speed of the conscious mind. So when a person asks you a question, your subconscious mind will answer emotionally and then feed that information through, and before the logical mind can catch up, you've already made the decision. And the logical mind has to just rationalize what the subconscious mind has come up with. So it's very, very important to be able to reach that person at an emotional level. A lot of times salespeople, and I write about this, you do a presentation to one person, everything goes great, they answer all the questions affirmatively, things go smooth, you close the deal. You take the same presentation to another person, do all the same stuff, they answer affirmatively on everything seems great, deal don't close. Why is that?
Why is that?
Same need, same product, don't close. Because you haven't engaged the person at a subconscious level.
Key thing, engagement.
And
because you can think you can take the same product, so it's like people putting you in the box, like I talked about this morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't put me in the box. You can't put you in the box. You can't put James in the box, because each person is totally different. When you decide that you're going to start putting someone in the same category, you already lost.
Right.
Because that person, you can't reach that person. So I think in regards to leadership, you can't lead the same way. You know, each person will be totally different.
Yes.
You know, you can't automatically just put them in that systematic mind frame of saying, I know people, I know how they act, and from what you're doing, this is how they normally act. But then their old footage, they might have been them yesterday.
Right.
Today, they can be a whole different person.
A whole different person. Now, like, the sales process doesn't change. You use the same sales process for everyone. You know, you take them through the steps. But being able to engage that person at the level that they're at. Like, if I told you, imagine yourself making $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
Well, that would be just depressing to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But, a guy that's making minimum wage, if I say something about, imagine making $2,000 a month, that's exciting.
Yeah.
But now if you're making $50,000, $60,000 a year, and I say imagine, or suppose I was able to show you a way that you could make an additional $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
Now it becomes exciting.
Different idea.
Not because the logic of, the $2,000 a month, but your subconscious mind goes through, if I had an extra $2,000 a month, I could do this, I could do that, I could cruise the Caribbean, I could, go to the
pay
mountains,
off some debt or
I could
whatever.
pay off my debt,
Yeah.
I could do a lot of things. I could afford to drive a Mercedes, with $200 or $2,000 extra money a month.
It might take your whole payment.
It would take your whole payment.
But the fact is, you can drive a Mercedes.
You could drive a Mercedes on
Now, then we're not
$2,000.
talking about the upkeep of it. We're just talking about driving.
Just driving it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But you want to get rid of it before the warranty ran out.
Yeah, exactly.
but yeah, it's a matter of understanding how to, what makes that person tick and what makes things happen. So, business environment, you're going to engage at a different level. So,
yeah.
But there's a lot of linguistics that you can use that will cause a person to automatically go into their subconscious mind. Words like suppose, imagine, but, because different words that you can use in structurally correct, in a structural way that will cause that person to engage the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Unconsciously they'll engage it because they don't realize what they're doing. So that's what I do, is help people do that. On average, a person who learns body language, nonverbal communication, micro expressions, that kind of thing, the average salesperson will increase their sales between 20 and 30% just by knowing those things.
I had an old manager of mine tell me it's a formula that says 55% I think is nonverbal, 8% of it is verbal, and another percentage of it is eye contact, something like that.
Yeah, it goes, I think, 30, or 55, 37, and 7 or something like that.
But the 7 is actually what you've said, right?
Now, that's those numbers are not completely accurate. But the premise is correct.
Right.
The vast majority of your communication is your body and your nonverbal communication, because people don't think of a non-verbal verbal thing as being a communication. But if I say, is that door locked versus is that door locked, it's two different statements altogether.
Right.
First is a question, and the second one is check and make sure the door is locked.
Right. And that's before you even say anything. So a lot of people say it's the way you
just
said
the command tone up, command tone down,
yeah.
different things like that will cause a person to do different things and take different actions.
It's like if somebody was lying, right?
Exactly.
Your voice go higher.
Well, sometimes that's a low value deception indicator. That's another area that I work, is deception detection and analysis.
So you can tell somebody's lying to you. You said you can tell when somebody's BSing.
Sure.
And that's when you do know that part. So a little bit in regard to touch on a little bit of that hypnosis stuff. How the mind works on that.
I don't use
because the people got to still believe before they do it, right? They got to believe something. When you talk about a weight loss.
How bad I want them hypnotized.
Okay. Well, tell me about
I could slam a person into trance, but I don't like to do that.
Yeah, got it.
But I mean, just your normal, and I don't use a lot of closed-eye, deep trance hypnosis.
Yeah.
Because it's a practice in itself.
Right.
I can't very well tell a salesman just close your eyes and relax, take a deep breath in, deep breath out. They're not going to go for that. But I can use the linguistics that I was talking about to put a person into a light trance and be able to engage the subconscious mind. And a lot of times people will say, well, is that's manipulation if you do that. Well, yeah, it is. But if I've got a product that's going to solve a problem for a person and it's the best product on the market, I'm sold on that product, I owe that prospect every possible opportunity I can give them to make the right decision. So I don't have a problem with doing it. Like I say, I'm not gonna zap somebody, bonk them on the forehead and knock them into trance. But you can use that language that engages a person. And hypnosis is really just the definition is absorption in the process and narrowing of focus. So you can be wide awake, eyes open, in conversation. I mean, actually talking back and forth. Still go into a light trance state because you're working out of your subconscious mind.
And the key thing you keep saying is the subconscious mind. So just like MostMoto, the mindset of successful thinking, how we always try to renew our mind every single day. That's why it's so important that you got to transform the way that you think. Correct? Because your subconscious mind is already working before you even say one word. Before your body even do any actions, your mind is already going. That's why we do this every single moment, every day, doing these MostMotos and trying to be positive, influence positivity in your mindset, because continually thinking negatively, which we all can look around and see something that's negative, you can think about. So it's like joy. Joy is it's not an action. Joy comes when it just it's a state. You just, I feel good. Yeah. That made me feel good. Happiness, someone can say one word wrong and your whole mood changes.
Right.
Sadness comes. You can be full of happiness and then someone says something about your dog and your whole idea changes.
Your whole state of mind will change.
Yeah.
What you hit on a couple of things there. MostMoto is the way you're branding yourself. But also MostMoto becomes a trance word over time, because that will eventually bury itself in a person's subconscious mind.
Yeah.
When I think of MostMoto, I think of Troy.
Yeah,
You know,
okay.
that's why
Good.
I don't necessarily think of positive mental attitude and inspiration, which that's what you do. But when I think of MostMoto, I think of Troy. M for motivation.
Yeah,
Smith.
there you go. I like it. I was keeping that one. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm keeping that one. The M, don't forget the M, it's for motivation.
Right. Don't
I like
forget
it.
the M,
Ooh,
man.
I like it. So if you heard me saying it, that's the credit. He can always come back and say, go back to the footage. I would have gave you that. You're right. Go ahead.
Right.
I like
And
it.
the other thing that you said that is critical is you feel like, I feel like this, or you feel sad, you feel happy. That's what we're talking about in the subconscious mind, is the neo-mammalian brain, the emotional brain, is where all of that comes from. So if you're talking to somebody and they say, well, I just don't feel right about that. That's emotion, that's not logic.
Yeah.
And, even if they say, I see what you're saying. Well, you can't see the words coming out of somebody's mouth.
Right.
Maybe some mushroom soup.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. But as long as you're sober, you can't see the person's words coming out of their mouth.
Right? You're not. What is it? Yeah, you're not tripping. I got you.
Right. As long as you're not hallucinating,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
can't see the words. But mentally, you can see the words. I can say, where was the last place you went on vacation? Where was the last place you went on vacation?
Well, that's what I went with.
You see yourself going deep.
Yeah, I had to go
You're
back
going
and start
in your mind and start,
Did you put me in
I
the
see the
trance?
wheels turning.
Well, yeah, I got it. Yeah, you start thinking.
You go internally, and then
Right.
you can visualize that.
Yeah.
My wife and I love to go to the Caribbean. I can think about the Caribbean and see it. I can smell it. It's just, I can go there
I like
in
it.
my head.
But you just said I can see it, I can smell it. If
I
you're
can hear
renewing
it.
your mind, you can hear it. But that's almost like in the simple. They say, think about what you want in life. Think about where you're trying to go. And if you can just put yourself there and be on the beach or whatever it may be, or whatever your goals are, that's why they say you got to first think about it.
Right.
Then put it out.
Right.
You say it. You write it down, say it, confess it, believe it. And then you can actually, when you're going through a moment where you're down and out, you can just go to that part to say, this is where I want to be, right?
Absolutely.
That's communication.
I hear reggae music. I'm on the overlook of the midship pool and on a cruise ship, because that's where I go. Now there's also triggers. Like I say, if I hear reggae music, that's a trigger. It sends my mind back to that place.
Yeah.
Then I'm sad.
Oh God, yeah.
Because I'm not there.
And then, yeah. That's, somebody say go to clock in or something. Send an email.
I come back. I'm like, man, I was over there.
Yeah.
But,
it's like Corona, like a commercial. When a Corona, whatever, it gets its lime or whatever. That's
Right.
putting you in the place.
Right.
Where when you think about Corona, you think about relaxation. That's Brandon all day, right?
Absolutely.
There.
It's like the most interesting man in the world.
Yeah, I like the older, most interesting man guy. I don't like
the new one. Ain't the most interesting man in the world,
like,
because your mind is locked in on the other guy.
Right, right. See, I thought it was Michael Phelps that actually played that part at first, but I learned it's not. It's an actually older guy. Either way, but that's what I wanted to make sure that we, speaking with James today, just really understanding the mind in general, have we taken it much deeper than just thinking positively. Just thinking about something and not doing nothing about it, but actually thinking about it and actually digesting it. Let it get into your subconscious mind and letting it get inside your fibers of your body to say, you know what? And like you just mentioned, MostMoto, I think of Troy. But if I was a guy that's not doing what I say I'm doing, it'd be easy for you to say, I don't want to be a part of that.
Right.
I don't want to see that. I mean, this guy cussing folk out every day, 24/7. I don't never see him happy or joyful, even at times when I don't feel it. Because if I'm going off what I feel like doing, that means I may not do it.
Right. Well, and like MostMoto, I said I think of you.
Yeah.
But then that triggers the emotion of motivation, inspiration.
Right, there you
because
go. It's like,
I'm thinking about things that you've said, things that things that we've done, and in our conversations. So it goes from a picture to an emotion.
Yeah.
So you get that feeling, like I say, on a cruise ship. The cruise ship is just a thing.
Yeah.
I think of a cruise ship, but then I get the feeling that I had when I was on a cruise ship, and then I can have those emotions.
Do you get
in that
the
state.
drink too that you were drinking? Do you taste that? You think about that?
I most of the time drink coffee.
Oh,
Diet Coke.
okay. Well, you can taste it.
I'm
then, right?
diabetic, and plus those drinks are really expensive.
Yeah,
on a cruise
exactly.
ship,
Yeah.
So I try to avoid that.
I got you.
Now my wife likes specialty drinks, and I'll buy her one, but I don't do that. I like to keep my mind clear when I'm out there, in case I have to jump off.
But before we get ready to go, Jay, what would you like the MostMoto community to know? How would you encourage them in regards to building their mindset, renewing it every day? And that also, we can't forget about the part about re-educating stuff every day too, because we were talking about no matter how experienced you get, no matter how successful you think you may get in life, if you're not continuously educating yourself or growing, like you said, you're dead. You're done.
That's all right.
So what would you like to encourage the folks with?
Other than hiring me to coach them and train them?
But hey, that too. Drop
you got to pitch, man. You always got to pitch.
Look, you got me hooked. Sell me, pitch me. So that's what we're doing.
You got to pitch,
Let's
dude.
do it.
You got to pitch.
Tell them where you can find you at.
You can reach me. You can find me on social media. LinkedIn, I'm James G. Springer on LinkedIn. On Facebook, I'm James G. Grigg Springer because of my family always called me Grigg. So if they didn't have that, then nobody in my
it's not because
family
of Jerry.
could find me. No.
It's not because of Jerry Springer.
No.
If you were kin to him. But it's not that, so
not.
no relation.
And I'm not.
Okay.
No. But aside from that, you can reach me there. I'm all over social media. So that's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me, or james@alln.com, and that's ALLN as in Nancy, com.com. And the reason why I chose that is because a lot of people will fritter around with things and they'll kind of work around the edges. But if you're going to be a great communicator, if you're going to understand all this stuff, you have to go all in. You have to go all in with MostMoto.
Yes,
you have to go all in, and you keep that focus narrow instead of a shotgun approach to everything. You focused in on MostMoto. Now I know you got some other side stuff going, but your focus is right there, and everybody knows it. They can tell by the way you engage.
Excuse that truck. I know we're outside. It's 70 degrees. In the winter, fall, so we decided to come outside with the sun and shine.
You don't get many sunny 70-degree days almost in December. So
I had to make sure this guy put his shirt back on.
That would have really destroyed you. That would have destroyed your broadcast. It's bad enough that I already got a face for radio. You wouldn't want that.
But how would you encourage the folks, James? How would you
study language, study linguistics? There's all kinds of stuff on conversational hypnosis that even if you don't want to be a hypnotist, you can learn language structure that changes the way people think. One of the most powerful words in the English language is because. Study was done in a university years ago when they still did, Xerox copies, and big line, midterm. Girl walks up in the front of the line. She says, could I cut line and make some copies? And she had very bad results. But she went to another line just like that. She said, went to the front line. She said, could I cut line because I need to make some copies? It was like 80% someone that let her in.
Wow.
Just because she said because. And so there's a lot of that. And then learning to put what you describe after the descriptor. So if I say a dog, you're going to think of a dog. Maybe a Labrador, maybe a Doberman, maybe, whatever. You get a picture of that dog in your mind. If I say the dog was blue, then you have to stop, go back. Your conscious mind or subconscious mind has to go back, paint the dog blue, and then go back forward again. So you're causing mental friction with that in that person's head. And so if you say the blue dog, then that person has no friction. It just flows through. They know to make their lab blue before they ever see it. And so
something to use right there. Huh?
Oh wow, absolutely. Putting your adverbs and adjectives in front of the noun or the verb makes a big difference in the way somebody processes information. But that would be my thing. Be study linguistics, study body language. Deception analysis is a very cool science. It's amazing what you can see in a person. And if you're interested in that, I would recommend going to Amazon or some other place and get the series Lie to Me. Absolutely fantastic series. And the first season was almost pure science, almost pure deception science based on...
Is it books or the video?
Video. It was a TV series. It was a TV series, 3 seasons.
Yeah.
But it makes it... You can see the science that Dr. Paul Ekman, the father of all, the great godfather of all this stuff, how he trains people. He trained all of the cast on deception analysis and hidden emotion. So, as a salesperson, as an individual, if you learn to read the emotions of the other person before they realize that they're displaying that emotion or feeling that emotion, then you know how to guide your conversation.
Yeah.
So,
and that's before you even speak.
Before they even speak.
That's before they speak, and even you, because you got to read them.
Right.
You got to see them. That's huge, James. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being a part of MostMoto. Thank you for being a part of MostMoto Moment Wednesdays. And hey, y'all be blessed today. Remember, the true outcome of having the mindset of successful thinking is having an unwavering expectation of successfully achieving a predetermined goal, knowing that the outcome is supposed to happen. We learned today that before you even get started, before you even say anything, you need to actually consciously, subconsciously think about it. And actually, before you start moving on to it, you put it out there too. Put it out in the atmosphere so you can actually grow. M.o.s.t. Moto, mindset, successful thinking. Moto show for motivation. Y'all be good.